The question is that the motion be agreed to. I call the member for Moreton.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. It is with sadness that I stand here today and offer my sincere thoughts and prayers for Andrew Chan and Mr Sukumaran, the two Australians in Bali facing execution for the crime of drug trafficking, and I commend the parliamentarians here on both sides of the chamber for their support for calling for clemency. To all of those people that have spoken on this motion, I thank you for making a stand for these two men, and for the more than 100 parliamentarians who signed the letter to the Indonesian ambassador seeking clemency as well. On the 13th of February 2006, Lawrence and Scott Rush, the first of the Bali Nine to face sentencing, were sentenced to life imprisonment. The following day, Sugai and Stevens were sentenced to life imprisonment. Sadly, Andrew and Myron were sentenced to death via firing squad, the first ever death sentence imposed by the Denpasar District Court. I want to say to the families of these two men, these two young men, Andrew and Myron, that they have my deepest sympathy for their situation and what they have experienced over the last nearly 10 years, although obviously words can't possibly ease the pain that they have been experiencing over that time since the arrest. Every parent in Australia who watched the truly saddening plea of Raji Sukumaran, mother of Myron, as she read a statement in Jakarta on behalf of herself and Helen Chan, the mother of Andrew Chan, would have felt their anguish, would have been horrified to see the words come from that mother's heart. Those words, "We beg for mercy for our sons. We beg you to spare our sons' lives. We beg you, please don't kill our sons." I say this particularly because I remember the day that the Bali Nine were arrested, because Scott Rush is one of his mum and dad are in my electorate. So I remember the day that they were arrested because it was the day my son was born. So as I see my son coming up to his 10th birthday this year, a son that I could hold in my hand the day they were arrested, and see how much my son has changed to now being nearly a 10-year-old, and think of the lives that these men have missed out on over those last 10 years, and the lives that their parents have missed out on seeing. I know that because of Lee and Chris Rush and the great work they have been doing to support all of the Bali Nine, not just their son Scott. I believe in a strong system of justice. I understand that Andrew and Myron should be punished for the serious crime of trafficking illicit drugs. No one in this parliament has questioned that. We take in Australia, we take these crimes very seriously, drug running, and the implementation of these crimes results in penalties, imprisonment. We understand that. And I have sympathy for the Indonesian situation, where drugs are sadly consuming the lives of people every day, and sensible governments must help their constituents. However, I do note that the drugs being smuggled in this situation were intended to harm Australians, not Indonesians. However, irrespective of the crime, I unreservedly oppose the death penalty in all cases, wherever it occurs in the world, whether it be terrorists in Bali or people smuggling drugs or anything in between. No crime can justify the cold-blooded killing of a human being by the state. I support the view of Amnesty International and did so when I was the co-chair of that group, that the death penalty is the ultimate denial of human rights. It violates the right to life as proclaimed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. On the 6th of March 2008, it was revealed that 3 of the 4 Bali Nine, Norman, Chen and Ewan, who were issued death sentences on appeal, had their sentences reduced to life imprisonment. And thankfully, on the 10th of May 2011, Scott Rush's appeal was successful in reducing and moving from the death penalty to life imprisonment. Still more to be done, hopefully, to release Scott to someone else who's changed his circumstances whilst in jail, and I know that Lee and Chris Rush are doing all to help him. So I ask that the Indonesian President show some compassion to Andrew and Myron to implement the decision of the Indonesian Constitutional Court in the 2007 case of Siantu, Scott Rush and others, where it said that the death penalty should no longer be the primary form of punishment in Indonesia, and that it should be imposed with a prohibition period of 10 years, so that if a prisoner shows good behaviour, as Andrew and Myron have done, it can be amended to a lifelong sentence or imprisonment for 20 years. So I plead with the Indonesian President, new in his tenure, popularly elected and surprised many, so now is a chance for him to show compassion and strength, especially in the light of the rehabilitation of Andrew and Myron and the remorse they have shown over their time in prison and the help they've given to other prisoners over the last nearly 10 years. And he should recognise the advantage that saving Andrew and Myron's life would present to the Indonesian prison system because of the help they've given other prisoners. By observing the positive change that Andrew and Myron have made, the Indonesian government can take this opportunity to encourage other prisoners to rehabilitate and change their lives for the better. Recent campaigns across Australia have echoed that call for mercy, and I thank the Australian people for turning out for this cause. Execution is not the answer for this situation, and I ask President Jokowi to reverse his decision and save the lives of Andrew and Myron. I asked him to consider the circumstances of Andrew and Myron's rehabilitation particularly. Obviously their suffering is to be considered also, and the suffering of their families, but their rehabilitation is the key element that should make him commute their sentences to an appropriate term of imprisonment. Please, Mr President, I ask you to consider this.